Hi, welcome to Chapter 4. This chapter covers demand and supply. In the first module, we will cover the basics. And in this segment, we will cover markets and why assumptions are important. In this segment, we will learn how economists use the word market and why markets are important to distribute goods and services. We also will learn why we need assumptions to analyze markets. Analyzing markets is one of the main goals of microeconomics research. Questions related to microeconomic research are: what is the market price for a specific good, and how this price may change in the future? Examples are prices for houses, the price for gas, or prices for stocks and bonds. If economists know the market price, they might be interested in answering one of the following questions. What is the quantity consumers are willing to buy for this market price? We will call this later demand. What is the quantity producers are willing to produce? This is what we later will call supply. What do we mean if we use the term market? A market is a location where a group of buyers, demanders, and a group of sellers, suppliers, meet to trade a good or a service. The word location is actually meant in a very broad way here. The word location includes a farmer's market, an exchange, and even a virtual location such as eBay. Why do we need markets? The main function of markets is to distribute goods and services. Distribution of goods and services actually means that goods and services change hands. Just like on a farmer's market, potatoes would change hands from the farmer to the customer. Can you think of goods which are not distributed through markets? Examples are gifts, freely available goods. We as economists call them free goods. An example would be the air we breathe. We don't have to pay for it, but we can breathe anyway. Another example for goods which are not distributed through markets are assigned goods. Sometimes the government assigns goods to people. An example are food stamps. The last example may sound a little bit obscure, but it is definitely an example for distributing goods other than through markets. Stolen goods. The good get distributed from the victim to the thief. Again, the main mechanism to distribute goods is through markets. We usually buy and sell goods. Since a real-world market is too complicated to analyze, we have to make some assumptions to simplify our analysis. Assumptions should be simplifying enough so we can apply our economic tools to analyze the market, but on the other hand, assumptions should be somehow realistic, since we want to apply our results later to the real world. We all make assumptions every day without even knowing it. For instance, when you're a pedestrian making the decision whether or not to cross the street. To make this decision without any assumptions, you would have to estimate a car's speed as well as its acceleration or deceleration. You then must apply physics laws of speed and acceleration. This can be very complicated. Therefore, most people first make the assumption that a car has a constant speed, then estimate if there is enough time to cross the street. The assumption of a constant speed is simplified enough to analyze the problem, since we don't have to bother with a law of acceleration or deceleration when crossing a street. The assumption of a constant speed is not entirely true. Cars almost never drive a constant speed, but usually a car would not out of the sudden accelerate or decelerate significantly. Therefore, our assumption is good enough for what we want to analyze. Assumptions are used in a similar way in our economic models. In this segment we learned about two things, markets and assumptions. Remember the definition of markets? A market is a location where a group of demanders and a group of suppliers trade a good. We also learned that we need assumptions to simplify our models. Assumptions must be simplifying enough so we can apply our economic tools, and at the same time, assumptions should be realistic since we want to use our results for real-world problems. Please keep in mind that realistic assumptions does not mean that the assumptions have to reflect 100% the real world. They just should not be too much off.